Hi, my name is Nicholas. Welcome to this week's Yin practice. For props for today, a couple hard blocks and a soft block will likely be handy. And we'll get started in a seat today, so if you want, you can come to sit up off of your prop and take a moment to find any comfortable position. So it can be cross-legged or legs extended or something else. And take a moment to settle whatever's touching the floor into the floor. And take a moment to lengthen the spine. Soften the shoulders here, gently lengthen the neck, maybe a slight tuck of the chin in towards the throat. Softening anything you don't need here. Bringing your attention to your breath, noticing your inhales and your exhales. And as we move through practice today, if you notice that the mind has started to wander, see if you can bring your attention back to whatever you're experiencing in that moment. Noticing the body, noticing the breath. And before we set up our first shape, check in and see if what you need most of all right now is some time in this quiet shape. Then you can stay exactly as you are. When you feel ready, you can flutter open the eyes, maybe give the head a gentle rock side to side. And take a moment to release the legs, extend them long, give the backs of the knees a little tap, maybe a little swish of the feet side to side. And we're going to get started in a dangling shape, so similar to a forward fold. So you can come up as you're ready, and you can have your blocks nearby for this as well. So see what feels good for the hips and for the spine, and feel free to give yourself a little bit of movement before you come and find your stillness. Maybe a gentle sway here, or maybe you're pedaling the legs a little bit, alternating bending one knee and then the other. And check in if you're feeling something that feels like pain, especially if it's in the low back, then you're always welcome to stay in more of a halfway lift shape, and you can use your props to support yourself here. As you're ready, you can let the spine get really heavy here, and you can bend the knees as much as you need to support yourself. Releasing the head as well, you might give it a gentle nod, yes and no. Let's see if there's a different arm expression you like to explore here, and you're welcome to do that now. And bringing your attention to the body, and just noticing. If you need a little more time, you're welcome to stay. Otherwise, as you're ready, maybe hands come and find your blocks, come to your halfway lift position, giving the tail a wag a little bit here just to release the hips. Awesome. And then we're going to set up for a toe squat. So you can keep the feet a little further apart or bring them a little closer together for this. You can use your props for support and then slowly start to bend the knees here, coming to balance on the ball of each foot. And coming in nice and slow, listening to the knees. I'm going to keep the knees together for this one, but if it feels better in your body to take the knees a little bit wider, maybe have your hands in between, then go for that. I'm finding a tall spine here, keeping my hands on my props just to help with balance. If you like to explore closing down the eyes, then go for it. Notice the feet and the ankles here, and find your breath. If the eyes are closed, gently flutter them open. We're going to delicately lower the knees down to the floor. So keeping the same basic shape, and notice if all the toes aren't tucked under, see if you can get the rest involved too. We'll hold this shape for a little bit. If you need to give yourself a break, you're welcome to come up and you can pause in a high kneel at any point. Option to stretch for the upper body too, so you can reach the left arm to the left and then start to take it across the body. Hook the right elbow underneath the left one with the palm facing towards the face, and then slowly start to draw that left arm a little closer. You might get a nice stretch to the outside of the left shoulder. We'll switch the arms so you can let the left arm go, reach the right arm wide, and then across the body, hooking the left elbow underneath, gently drawing that right arm a little closer. And at any point, the legs can have a break. And staying in your experience and staying with your breath here. Gently releasing this side as well. You can use your props. Come on up to a high kneel and then enjoy the release as you untuck the feet. You could tap the tops of the feet here. When you're ready, we'll bring the hips towards the heels and then come and find a counter stretch. So listen to your ankles for this one and come only as far as feels good for you. So you can use your props or fingertips to the floor and gently start to lean your way back, putting a little more weight on the ankles. And then the option here is for you to start to lift the knees up as well, bringing the weight onto the tops of the feet. And if you're feeling this in the knees, then give yourself a slight adjustment. You can experiment with feet a little wider apart or something like that and see if there's a better place for you to stretch from. Depending on where you are, you might be on the hands, you might be on the elbows here. Maybe close down the eyes and take a few deep breaths. All right, if you're on the elbows, coming onto the hands, slowly lowering the knees back down. And from here, we'll come to set up a squat. So taking the feet nice and wide apart, maybe as wide as the mat, hips towards the heels, and then see what kind of a squat you need here. If the hips are, or if the heels even are floating, then that's not a bad thing. But if you have your hard blocks nearby, you could bring them in for support. I'm going to use mine to make myself a seat. So if you prefer to do that, then go for it, taking a little pressure out of the knees here as well. And see what feels good here. Option to gently press the elbows into the knees into the elbows, and be with a tall spine. If you'd rather have the hands on the floor and gently fold in, then go for that. See what feels better in the body for today. And from your squat, you can lower the hands to the floor. If you have a prop underneath, you can move it out of the way. And then hands behind to lower the bum down. Windshield wiper might feel nice here. You can do that with extended legs or bent knees, and take a few rounds side to side. Awesome. And then we'll set up for a seated butterfly shape. So slightly different for today. If you want, you can come to sit up off of a prop. And then you can take your hard blocks and just put them next to each other. And we'll bring the feet up onto the blocks. So just changing the angles slightly to just target slightly different parts of the body. So make sure that this feels good for you, and you can have the feet as close to the body as you want. So kind of all the way near the pelvis or further away. And again, you just explore to see what feels best for today. Then keep the pinky toe edges of the feet together. Imagine like you're opening a book or something. You're taking the big toe edges a little further apart, and then just see what that feels like. An option to stay with your tall spine, or we'll fold forward so you can gently hinge from the hips, bring the chin in towards the chest, and then start to round from the upper back as well. If you find yourself kind of hovering in an uncomfortable spot, then feel free to back out at any point. If you have an extra prop, maybe you want to support the head. Take your time to settle yourself in. Maybe with the support of the hands, slowly start to unravel yourself up. Finding your tall spine and then releasing the feet to the floor. Perhaps leaning back on the hands and gently windshield wipering side to side. Awesome. If you're on a prop, you can come off of it. We're going to lower down onto the back. And then once you release down, take a moment just to get comfortable. We'll find one more stretch for the ankles. So now start to walk the feet nice and wide apart. They might even come wider apart than the mat. And then see about resting the knees in together. You might point the toes slightly in as well, see what that feels like. If this puts pressure on the knees, then you can keep the knees slightly separate by adding a prop in between, and you can use any setting for that. And let the legs be really heavy here, rest the arms wherever feels comfortable. If you have a prop between the knees, you can move that out of the way and then slowly heel toe the feet a little closer. One more time, a windshield wiper might feel nice as a release. All right, bring the legs to center. Now we're going to set up for happy baby, but we're going to do it a little bit differently today. So you might do one of the legs at a time just to set up. So normally we'll reach for the foot or for the ankle. If you have the space, we're going to interlace the fingers and the toes. So you might just take a moment to try to get your fingers in between your toes. And it might feel a little funky, so don't take it too seriously. If like one of them doesn't fit or something, then that's fine too, and just giving the toes and the feet a nice stretch out. So once you have one set up, you can reach up for the other as well. And it doesn't have to be perfect, just do the best you can with this one. And then you can leave the feet pointing forward, especially if when you lift the legs up, the hips come up as well. See if you can keep the low back nice and grounded. And then using the weight of the arms just to deepen the stretch in for the hips especially. Find your breath here. Gently, you can disentangle your fingers from the toes and lower the feet down to the floor. Because we've done a little bit of folding, I want to take just one counter stretch for the spine as well. So you can take one or two heart blocks with the feet roughly underneath the knees. Lift the hips just enough that you can place the pelvis onto your support. And you can rest here in this restorative bridge shape, or if you like, you can explore extending the legs long down the mat instead. And from either of these shapes, find a comfortable spot for the arms. Even here, a little movement for the legs, just to let the feet kind of flop however they want to. And then find your stillness. If the shape is feeling great and you'd like to stay for a little while longer, you're welcome to. Otherwise, slowly start to walk the feet back in if the legs are extended. And lift the hips just enough to slide your props out of the way. Lowering the pelvis, and from here, if you like to re-extend the legs, then go for it. And come and find a rest shape, so any comfortable symmetrical shape for the body. And it doesn't have to be lying down. If you'd rather be in a seated meditation or a child's pose, come and find that instead. And see if you need to make any adjustments for your space, temperature, lighting, maybe any adjustments for your shape. Check in to see if anything's holding that doesn't have to be, that you can release here. And let the body settle. Gently deepen the breath to reawaken the body. Wiggling the fingers and wiggling the toes. Giving the head a rock side to side. If you like, take a full body stretch. Reach the arms, reach the toes. Maybe wiggle the hips. And then rolling down to one side, taking a pause for a breath or two. Coming up to find any comfortable seated position as you feel ready. And taking a moment here to check back in with the body, taking a scan from the feet to the head just to notice. And perhaps connecting the hands at the heart and bowing the chin in towards the chest. And thank you for sharing your practice today. Namaste. Thank you for joining me for Yin Practice. And my name is Nicholas. If you have any questions, please reach out and enjoy the rest of your day.